Hi, good evening, Vishakha.
Hello.
Hi, welcome once again.
Long time. How have you been?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for taking your time for this session. It's always wonderful to have you with us, especially in important initiatives like this. So can't thank enough. Just give us a couple of minutes. So we'll start in another couple of minutes, but let me just give you the context for this entire thing.
Yeah.
So idea is we thought as an education body, we should create a platform now which talks about innovation that is happening in the investment product industry. As you know, investors are increasingly becoming experimental with products, but how do you create a platform which tells them what is right and from what is wrong? And can we, because there's so much of noise all around, especially with this new alternate products like cryptos and all. So we thought, let us create an annual platform where we will showcase different investment opportunities spread across 10 different asset classes. So this entire initiative we are running through 1st August to 15th August as a part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. And we have 10 segments, each segment focusing on a different asset class. So today's asset class, as you're aware, is insurance and pension. And the focus is more on the investment part of it, not the risk. I mean, when you talk about insurance, not the risk management part. So we hope initiative like this over the years will become a go-to platform and a good educational platform, both for the distributors and advisors who are looking for the right products to offer, and for the investors to have the right products to invest in. So that's the simple objective of this initiative. We have roughly 2,500 people registered for this program. And that also, plus there are roughly 14 to 1,500 qualified members who also have joined in. The audience has joined us through a separate platform. So only speakers are here on Zoom. Audience is watching this through a live streaming virtual platform. We have around 25 minutes for this session. That also includes the Q&A time. So if you want to take some questions from the audience, I'll be happy to moderate that for you. You just have to let me know. Before I start, do you have any presentation that you'd like to share?
Unfortunately, no. I've been completely run off my feet, so I don't have a
Okay.
presentation. But what I do want to do is actually keep it as interactive as possible.
Sure.
So I'd like to actually just talk for 10 minutes and stop. Only if there is no questions, then maybe you can prompt me with something else and then I'll go ahead and complete it. Okay.
Okay.
But otherwise, I'd like to keep it interactive because I think
Okay.
it's very important for audience to feel connected.
No, I understand. So my request will be, since we have 25 minutes, let's just take 2 breaks, say one after 10, 12 minutes, and then another towards the end. And then I'll be happy to take the questions if there are any.
Yeah.
So audience, I think without further ado, let me quickly get started. Please join me in welcoming Miss Vishakha RM. She's the MD and CEO of India First Life Insurance Company, and also very, very strong mentor and advisor and proponent of all the work that we've been doing for last few years. So thank you, Vishakha, as always, for, you've been very, very generous with your time and efforts when it comes to Equalify initiatives. Can't thank enough to leaders like you who are helping us do whatever we are doing in the education space. So audience, Vishakha has helmed India First Life as its MD and CEO since March 2015. Under her strong leadership, the company has recorded a significant growth rate and steadily risen in industry rankings. Some of her noteworthy recognitions include being listed among Business Today's most powerful women, dynamic women leaders in India by ET BFSI, India's best leaders in times of crisis 2021 by Great Places to Work. Additionally, she's also been recognized by Business Icons of India 2022 by G3 Business. And I'm just looking for one important name here. There's a long list, but I believe also something by the name Top 100 Women in Finance by AIWMI, now that is called Equalify. So you don't really have the time to get into the entire profile. It's quite long and illustrious, but she has been also enlisted as a trailblazer among contemporaries across industries by prestigious publications such as Forbes India and Business Today. She's a chartered accountant equipped with a postgraduate diploma in computer systems. She's also a fellow of the Insurance Institute of India. I'll stop with the profile reading right here so that we have more time for the session. But thank you so much, Vishakha. We can't wait to hear from you on what are the innovative things that you see are coming up in the insurance sector, and how investors can look at this, insurance products from the investment angle. We all understand that insurance are meant for risk management and not investment, but again, there have been exceptions. So looking forward to hear from you on what's keeping you excited about this industry, and hopefully there'll be some interesting tips and insights for the investors as well as distributors here. So over to you.
Thank you so much, Aditya. And you're embarrassing me completely, but thank you very much indeed. I know we have about 20 minutes, and I actually chose the route of not having a presentation because I really want to see if we can have a more interactive space. Aditya did say that he could make it possible to have a very interactive space. So I'm going to really take him up on it and challenge him to do that. Let's start with, first of all, talking about what is insurance, right? And he said sometimes it's an investment, sometimes it's a risk. I'd just like to actually turn around and say insurance is primarily a risk management tool. But, and this is where the big difference is, it is not about a risk management of only mortality or morbidity, not only that of living too long or dying too early or illness and health. It is also a huge risk management tool from a financial risks perspective. Now, what are the financial risks that we're talking about? The financial risks that you're talking about is something as simple as an ALM, right? All of you are finance professionals here, and all of you will understand very clearly what ALM means. You have an assets and you have a liability, and it's a management of your assets and liability. How do you manage your assets and liabilities? You match them, right? I mean, that's the most prudent way of doing it. You do it for an organization. If any of you were in the investment department of a company or in the treasury or anywhere else where you have the responsibility of managing your finances, you would look at it and say, how do I manage my assets and liabilities? What do I pitch? But when it comes to individuals and when it comes to managing of individual finances, we seem to forget that there is something called an ALM. We seem to forget that you should have different products which actually match to different needs. Sometimes I feel our grandparents and grandmothers were much more professional in terms of the way they used to manage risks. Remember all that gold that, your mother or your grandmother used to accumulate for the marriage, because they knew that in a marriage you wanted gold. So they wouldn't even think of a different class of assets. They invested in the class of asset that they would require, and over the period of the years, and our traditions and cultures have made sure that at every event there is some gold accumulated. And from the time the child is born, there is gold being put aside for the next 25, for when it would be needed 20 years later. How many of us haven't heard stories of people saying, you take care of the costs of the wedding. As far as the gold is concerned, I'll manage it all, from the woman. And that, is a primary example of an asset liability management. Oh, I know there must be plenty of people out there who are going to turn around and say, Vishakha, are you recommending gold as an asset class? And I'm not recommending any specific asset class. What I am trying to say is that an asset class needs to match a liability for which it's being created. And that is at the core fundamental principle of any financial management. It's a core fundamental principle of any product. When you're talking, and specifically now, if you get into how is it that insurance matches all of this, what is it about the insurance innovation? If you go back in time, you probably had just endowment products and cashback products, and that's all that LIC used to sell in various forms. And they could be they could be with waiver of premium riders. So it would be for a child, and you create an amount for a long-term income, you create pensions and so on and so forth. But it was about endowment, and it was about money back in various forms, and annuities, of course, that come into place. Now, what were the changes that happened? Then you had privatization coming in, and the ULIPs were the flavor of the season. Yes, did the ULIPs work out the way they thought it should work out? Maybe not. But what is important to note is the regulatory changes that came about from 2000 to 2022 today, and how there have been so many changes that have come up, and how today's products are completely different from what was maybe sold 20 years back or 25 years back. And they're so much better from a customer perspective. Let's look at one of the innovations that was made in terms of ULIP. ULIP didn't exist in the Indian insurance market prior to 2000. And post regulations of IRDAI, today you have a ULIP product which actually promises you on a benefit illustration of a 4 and 8%, on a 4 and 6%, it promises you a non-zero return along with the insurance cover, of course. Look at the kind of fund options that have come up within ULIP. And when you look at all the fund options that have come up within ULIP, you will notice that these fund options span multiple diverse views, including an ESG fund that's now been coming up into the marketplace. When you look at what is it that ULIP can do, which is what is it that, why is it not the same as a mutual fund? What's the innovation that's there in ULIP? I think the fundamental principle to be remembered is innovation is not only about something new. Innovation could also be about something better, something which is doing better than what it was before, something which is actually worth different in the market than what is there otherwise. And the lock-in period in ULIP, that's there for 5 years, and the fact that the charge structure is the way it is, makes ULIP the most ideal investment from a long-term perspective. If you're talking about products for your customers who want a fill it, shut it, forget it, ULIP is the go-to product. You don't need to manage it. The entire investment fund managers manage it from a long-term perspective because there is a minimum 5-year lock-in. They have the freedom to be able to manage it from a long-term perspective. When you switch between various funds, it isn't about, paying capital gains. It is about moving from a fund to another fund within the same product. That's innovation for you. You don't have to look at it as a booking of returns. Otherwise, what is it that you do today in a mutual fund? If you want to switch funds, then you have to, it's literally like booking returns, paying tax on it, and investing it into a new fund. Whereas a switch is not booking returns, it's a switch. And you all have a certain level of financial knowledge, so I don't need to go into the details of what it is, but it's an innovation. And I think it is, innovation in terms of products and mutual funds that come with triggers. So you have something called an automatic trigger-based strategy. So every time you book a 10%, it automatically goes into a debt. So you have each of these triggers that are coming up that enable for an automatic management of the fund without having to necessarily be actively managing your own portfolio. Yes, your investment managers manage portfolio for you. They do. However, we all know that at the end of the day, the returns that you see in any market-linked product is really notional until you decide to book it. If you don't book it, it is a notional money. It's not real money at all. I'm a chartered accountant from a qualification, as Aditya told you. So for me, real money is what you see on the table or what profits you've booked. It's book value. Otherwise, it really is all about market value, and market value is only what you realize when you actually go to sell it. It's like living in a house which you say is worth 10 crores and you count it as your wealth, but that's only when you go to sell it, you will know what's the value of it. And then until then, it's really a paper. That's the way I would like to look at it. Is it conservative way of looking at it? It is a conservative way of looking at it. How can insurance help in managing that innovation? Is through managing those market value stuff is by actually doing shifts, by actually booking returns and keeping it in the same different fund options. That's from an innovation as far as ULIP is concerned. What are the other innovations that have come up in ULIP? There's so many more innovations that have come up in a unit-linked fund, which is in terms of staggering of the money, staggering of the returns, in terms of the way you take those returns, whether whether you continue your life insurance cover beyond the premium payment term, beyond the policy term. Do you all realize that your ULIPs can be structured as the ultimate product in terms of a pension build-up and a pension withdrawal? Do you know that ULIPs can run up to 100 years, and therefore they can actually be structured to grow as a part of the product? You know, you have your you have your accumulation phase and you have your withdrawal phase through systematic withdrawals. And these are tax-free returns that come up on your ULIP funds. There is a mandate to put money into NPS for those of government companies who have superannuation, and they need to take that 12% contribution. They'll have to contribute into NPS. NPS allows for withdrawal at the end of the period of 60%. After that, you can either buy an annuity or you can buy a ULIP. And if you buy a ULIP, you can actually use it for systematic withdrawals, which are tax-free. You can buy an annuity, which will give you guaranteed withdrawals at a taxable. Now, let's move, from ULIPs to annuities directly. Annuities originally used to be pretty simple and straightforward, that, you give me a lump sum amount and I'll pay you back a monthly income, and for a 15-year or a 20-year fixed term. The second option is that I'll pay you back for a 15-year, 20-year, and then I will give you back your entire principal. And the third one is you give money, I'll pay you for eternity. I'll pay you for as long as you live, an X amount of money. Obviously, the interest rates on all of these vary. And, how it's all a function of your age, the period for which you take, your health, and so on. What are the new changes that have come up? I think the new changes that have come up in annuity is a lot of stuff called deferred annuity. We understand that people are no longer retiring with a lump sum. You have a lot of people who are retiring from private companies, or people who are retiring from businesses, and they might not have the necessary lump sum amount required to invest into an annuity policy and create income at the time of retirement. And therefore, now you have something called a deferred annuity. So you pay during your lifetime when you're earning, you create the corpus for when you're earning, and then choose when you're going to start getting your income, or when you're going to start getting your annuity from that particular policy. So that's a very interesting way it's come up. And the deferred annuity can be adjusted based on your life stage, based on when you want the income, and based on how you want to fund for it. So while I spoke about how you could use ULIP as a brilliant structure for you to get your pensions and structure for any withdrawals, anything, it doesn't have to be your pensions. It could be for your child, to actually create a stream of income for your child when they are in college. Annuities can be a huge beneficiary for you to create your own field of income. The non-par products, right? I mean, are another big field. When you look at life insurance has got ULIPs, it's got annuities, it's got protection. We're not talking pure protection here because it's an investment and innovation product summit. And then it's got something called par and non-par. And par is basically participating. The fundamental principle in par is that a customer pays a certain amount of money to the insurance company deducts expenses, and the rest of it they invest. And whatever is the return that's earned on that investment, 90% of it is given back to the customer, and 10% is actually retained by the insurance company. Honestly, that 90%, whatever is given back and credited, is then guaranteed for the rest of the duration of the policy period. And what does that make it? Why does it's called participating? Because it's the no share of profits. That's become such a regulated industry now. What are the expenses that can be debited is very clear. It's limited. There's not too much that you can debit beyond what is being priced in. And for people who are seeking long-term, guarantees, you don't want to have volatility. You want to keep certain amount of money aside for yourself. These are the products that you've got. When you think about it from a non-par, right? Non-par is non-participating. And non-participating, what you will look at is returns. All of you must have been seeing the latest ads that have come up, 7% guaranteed, 6.5% guaranteed, and so on. And if you don't understand the innovation there and the risk that the insurance companies are taking there, and try and compare that rate with saying, oh, I put it in the markets, I'll get 12%, you really haven't understood the product at all. because the product of a non-par is all about zero risk for the customer and a lot of risk for the insurance company. And that's how it actually works. So the insurance companies, when they declare the rate of return, they actually tell you what is the amount that's going to be given back to the company. The innovations that have come up in that is enormous. And all the innovations are primarily in terms of the premium payment or in terms of the payouts. I'm going to take a pause for a minute here and see if there are any comments from the audience. Are there any queries? Anybody finding objections?
No objections for sure. But audience, I mean, there is a question asked. There's an options tab on the left side of your screen on the footer. You can use that to ask a question to the speaker. Vishakha, I'll also request you, I mean, we have another 7-8 minutes actually to go for the session only. So you can continue. I'll keep taking the questions and maybe I can put all the questions to you together towards
Sure.
them.
Awesome. And there's one point that I wanted to really talk about while you've kind of restricted me and boxed me in, Aditya, by saying, innovation only. I think I'd like to cover a particular point, which is in terms of the insurance product itself. Since a lot of the people who are attending this are professionals who probably marketing products, who are dealing with these financial instruments, I'd just like to use this opportunity to communicate where insurance fits into the entire portfolio. And when people look at it as only risk, and they think of risk as right, you can go off video if you're happy to. And when you think of risk as only a protection, I think that's where the big mistake is being made. As finance professionals, many of you will not even think of yourselves as people who don't understand money, right? Who don't understand financial discipline. But all that I'd like to say is that a lot of people who do not understand what it is like to have financial discipline. You do not have these credit card loans piling up. You do not have EMIs not being paid because people have bad intentions. Most of these that happen because people don't have adequate financial management practices and they don't have enough financial knowledge to be able to manage these practices. Sometimes, human behavior is such that if you want to get something done from a human behavior perspective, you look at it and say, do I need rewards or do I need a punishment or do I need some kind of very strict monitoring to be able to do what you need to do? All of us have experienced some form of motivation or, a threat for us to be able to get something done. Life insurance products really provide that level of financial management capability to people for who don't have it. The risks that get protected is that of a financial indiscipline. Why? What is it? What is it that's about a financial indiscipline that gets protected? I think something as simple as ensuring systematic savings. And when you don't have systematic savings being made, there's actually a punitive concept there in terms of ensuring that you make your systematic savings. Lock-ins. I remember a dialogue with a very senior banker who said, I don't like insurance products because they have a lock-in. And the point that I've made is why would you find lock-in as such an issue? He said, I'd like to have flexibility. I said, but you're planning for your child. What flexibility do you want for the money that you're putting aside for your child? And it's only then that people realize that financial discipline is an art. It is not possible for every individual. And some products like insurance, life insurance, and probably the only product like life insurance, which actually gives you that entire financial discipline where you lock in the money and that money is then available only for the specific purpose for which you locked in. Very much like those old black and white movies that we used to have where you had those 3 pots, mothers, health, sisters, marriage. and brother's education or something like that. And then only surplus left over after saving for those three is what is available to the hero to spend on himself and his girlfriend. The point now is actually different. I know we live in a very consumerism world. And in this consumerism world where you have people actually giving you loans against your salary for 5 days before your salary for you to be able to spend, financial discipline is all the more important. And if people don't have practice and they don't have that capability in a world such as ours, which does not have any social benefits, which does not have any benefits above a certain BPL segment, and you don't have financial discipline, this is really a race downhill to the bottom. It's not going to work. So that's another point that I want to leave behind very, very, very strongly, is that life insurance is a big tool to manage for people with financial discipline. It is also only the only product that gives you long-term guarantees. All of you as investment professionals understand that you don't put your eggs in one basket. You want to get into crypto, you're not going to be putting 100% of your funds in crypto. You're probably not even going to be putting more than a single-digit percentage into crypto. You will diversify. Okay, so when you diversify, do you have a certain percentage that you will put into a guaranteed return too? And there is today no other product than insurance which gives you a guaranteed return over the long term of 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, and lifelong. So just remember, when you look at insurance and when you try and look at it as an innovation, sometimes old is gold, and you need some hardcore old time products to actually navigate the entire world of finances. When you're advising your clients or when you're making your own portfolios and you bifurcate, you will follow 2 or 3 simple principles. One is definitely an ALM match. And when you look at an ALM match, how closely do you want to match it? When you have your real long-term liabilities, do you want to really put the entire thing into an equity matching? Or you're going to start looking at liabilities only which are arising after a particular number of years to be into equity, and then you have a volatile asset management wherein you keep, as you grow closer to the liability, you actually have higher and higher guarantees. Also, you look at it from an entire portfolio and a basket of guaranteed, not guaranteed, high risk, low risk, moderate risk products, and you mix and match all of these. And every single financial product that's available in this country will have a place when you actually make your rainbow of investment advisory services.
We are just almost out of time, but I think we'll quickly try to take 3-4 questions from you. I'll also request Sriram to please hang on our next speaker. He's already here. So Sriram, we'll need another 5 minutes before we wind up this session. I already have some questions, Vishakha. I'll start reading them out and 1 minute. Yeah. So the first question, the MF. Roughly 2 decades ago, this insurance was always almost preferred more than mutual funds, and insurance were big when it came to tax planning and investment reasons. But over the last decade or so, especially, we've seen mutual funds, taking off in a big way. While when it comes to insurance products, we still talk about India being one of the most under-penetrated countries as far as insurance is concerned. So your views on that?
So 2 things. One is that mutual funds are really good when you're looking at it as a short-term to medium-term savings. And I think a lot of people are looking at a short-term to medium-term. Also, the base has been lower, so the growth is also always going to look higher. It's a newer industry as compared to life insurance. And when you look at life insurance penetration, people are looking at penetration from a perspective of coverage. Are you really protected for what you are worth? And an ideal insurance still continues to be looked at only from a pure risk. Whereas honestly, as I keep repeatedly saying, insurance risk management is not only against mortality, morbidity. A lot of risk management is also against interest rate volatility and market fluctuations.
Sure. So the next question is, as an industry spokesperson, could you tell us about some innovations that have really impressed you? I'll just add from my side. You may want to take the names or not take the names, but this question is for the entire life insurance industry, not just India First Life. So is there anything that you'd like to point out as an industry spokesperson? Something really impressed you for the last few years?
I think, as I said, right, innovation is not necessarily about doing something new. It could be also about doing something better.
Correct.
And I think as an entire industry, the kind of things that the industry has been doing in terms of benefits to policyholders, in terms of how those benefits can be reached out, integrated solutions, I think that's something that I find very good. There was a recent product wherein they actually looked at how the term payouts on death can actually go towards to the family exactly the way that individual's salary would have gone, along with an increment on the salary, over the period of the rest of the lifetime. So it's, I think it was beautiful because people know how to manage small chunks of money. They're used to managing salary. Most beneficiaries are not necessarily the best financial management people. And so when they continue to just receive salary, which they would have got had the earning member been around, I think it just makes it so much more easier to manage life. It's a very, very simple way of looking at it. Instead of saying in insurance, we pay out a lump sum. I think it's about being very nuanced to what customers need and being able to do that. Say, give a lump sum amount for the immediate and then pay out in salary, exactly like the way cost of living goes up. Keep increasing the salary that will be paid out like the individual would have got with an increment or with a cost of living index raise. I think that was something that I felt was really a very good innovation to be able to meet a customer need.
So I see a few questions, but I think we are running out of time. So a last question from my side. I was holding on to this to ask you. So I mean, assuming that you have the entire flexibility and regulatory approval to redesign a product which is currently available, which product that would be, and what do you think is lacking? I mean, how can it be made better?
I would redesign a par product. Okay. Today, our participating products, while the structure is very good, and they say that, because when you look at a concept, the concept is so simple. You give me money, I'll manage the money for you. Whatever I earn, 90% I'll give it back to you, 10% I'll keep. For somebody who is not interested in managing or who is not knowledgeable at managing money, and I'm sure that doesn't apply to anybody in this audience, but it probably applies to all the customers that this audience would got and cater to. The problem with that is there's no benchmark. What do you earn? What do you not earn? I think if we can have a benchmark which is linked to an external benchmark and then say, I will definitely give you this plus. I think if we could have an external linked benchmark par and also an external indices based annuity. Today, our annuities also, today the insurance companies have to take a risk of projecting for the future. And obviously, the moment you have to take a guaranteed risk for the future, anybody who has worked in any risk management will tell you that you will be conservative. People want to do 100% asset liability matching. So the moment you get into that level of liability matching, you will offer lower returns. Right. Therefore, if you can have a product which can be reset on the basis of how the external benchmark is, I think everybody stands to benefit. You get the highest rates, you get the lowest costs, and the risk is manageable all over. And I think it's a win-win situation for everyone. Super.
Thank you so much, Vishakha, for those insightful answers. I mean, would have loved to continue, but we are really, really out of time.
Thank you.
But always, I think on the next standalone session, we can have some time with you. So thank you so much. Have a great day. And look forward to keep engaging with you.
Thanks. Bye.
So, audience, our next speaker, Mr. Sriram Iyer is already here. Sriram, Do you have any presentation that you'd like to share?
Yes, I do have a presentation, Aditya.
Yeah.
Am I visible? Yes, I am visible.
Yes, you are. Apologies for the delay. We were having
That's
an
fine.
interesting chat
Absolutely.
with Vishakha, so we
No, it is a
had-
pleasure listening to her. I think it's always great to hear industry leaders, and it's entirely my pleasure. Not a problem at all.
yeah.
I'll
I
just
think
share
your
my-
voice is coming a bit feeble. If you could just
Yeah.
come near the mic or
Is this better?
no, the screen is visible.
Oh, no, I know. I mean, I'm just trying to I was trying to use my Bluetooth, but that doesn't seem to work for some reason.
Oh,
Is this better?
slightly better. It could be better further. So
Okay.
if you can.
Let me just give me a minute then. Let me try and give this a shot. Just give me a second.
Yeah, no problem.
Aditya, is my audio better now?
Hello.
Yeah. I'm trying to use the good old wired earphones. Bluetooth doesn't seem to work.
Okay, I believe some of your colleagues have joined in on Zoom. Maybe some of them can also answer, because to me it's coming a bit low. But
hi, Sriram, Saurabh here. It is audible now. It is a little bit better than the earlier version.
Okay, let me then.
Aditya, am I audible, Aditya?
You're
yeah,
right.
Saurabh, you are perfectly audible. For some
Yeah.
reason, Sriram's voice was not coming across. But okay, I think we can get started. No problem.
Sure.
So give me one sec, guys. All right. So Sriram, welcome to this insurance and pension innovation segment of our annual initiative. Before we start, I'll quickly, while we've discussed, but I'll quickly give you the background. So this entire idea behind this this initiative is to showcase some innovative products and strategies that are coming up in investment world. So we've divided this initiative into 10 segments. Each segment is focusing on a different asset class.
Okay.
And today we're talking purely about insurance and pension products. So audience has joined us through a separate platform. We have around half an hour for this session. If we have time towards the end, I'll be happy to take questions from the audience for you. Audience, moving on to our next session, we have with us Mr. Sriram Iyer. He's a senior professional from the BFSI industry with almost 27 years across segments, having held leadership positions across MNC banks and financial institutions. He spent his initial years with Gujarat Lease Financing Limited in their corporate finance and equity research unit, and subsequently at GE Countrywide, helping them establish the sales finance business in Gujarat. He then went on to be a part of the senior management team of the consumer banking business at ABN AMRO Bank, where he was instrumental in helping the bank establish a leadership position in Gujarat. In each of his roles, Sriram has been a startup specialist, joining organizations at their early stages and playing a key part achieving scale. Currently, he's serving as the CEO of HDFC Pension Management. Before he joined HDFC, Sriram set up and led the digital wealth management business as CEO of AR Digital Wealth, the digital wealth management arm of Anand Rathi Group. He carries a 360-degree understanding of the retail financial services space, having helped businesses build direct and indirect distribution channels for banking products, loans, and wealth management. He is a qualified structural engineer, and he's also done his MBA in finance from the MS University of Baroda. So Sriram, welcome to IPI 2022. Wonderful to have you here. Your topic today on MPS, I believe, very, very timely. And for a country, today's entire segment is about two products which are so very important, but ironically are also either not understood properly or very, very undersold or underbought. So Vishaka just spoke about the insurance part. I think the next you're going to take us through the NPS product, and I believe this is equally important for a country like India, where the social security system is so poor. So audience, please join me in welcoming Sriram. And Sriram, over to you. I'm very much here if you need any assistance. And as I said, I'll be happy to take some questions on your behalf towards the end of the session.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. Thank you so much, Aditya. I hope the audio is, marginally better than it was earlier.
Yes.
Yes. And I do hope to, Vishaka made a very compelling case for insurance. And I hope to do half that job, at least with NPS. So thank you very much once again, Aditya, and the entire eQualified team for inviting me to this session. I'm holding up my mic, so you must be wondering why I've put my hand up, just to make sure that the audio is clear. So thank you so much, and I'm delighted to be actually representing the industry. More than HDFC Pension Management Company, which of course I lead. I'm here as a spokesperson for the pension management industry. Not an authorized spokesperson, but somebody who is going to speak on behalf of the pension fund industry. So my focus is really going to be on the background to this product specifically, which is NPS, as you pointed out, Aditya, and a lot of things that are not known about NPS. And I'll tell you why. I think I chose to title this presentation as NPS, the next gen product. And I'm sure a number of people in this very august audience, which I'm sure is full of sophisticated wealth advisors and wealth managers. I myself have, in my past avatar, have been associated with the wealth management industry for over 15, 17 years. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for people in this industry, and there's a lot of very, very good work that this fraternity does for the Indian investors. As we all know, the financial literacy levels in India are fairly low. So I think this industry does a huge amount of work to make sure that people make the right kind of investment decisions. So thank you very much to all of you. My job today, at the end of this 20-25 minutes that I'll hopefully take, and then hopefully leave a few minutes for Q&A, is to essentially leave with you a very strong impression of why this product is, in my opinion, a next gen product. And I'll share some statistics and I'll share some background data. And having spent a fair amount of time in the wealth management industry, I must confess that when I was in the wealth management industry, my understanding of NPS was abysmally low. And I won't be surprised if it is low across this audience as well, because of the fact that that's the nature of this business. That's the nature of the way we run our business, right? So I'd like to therefore begin by giving a little bit of a background. And before doing that, I really want to get into really defining why we are doing what we are doing. And so this is the flow of the presentation. I'll share the background of this product. How did this come about into existence? What is the architecture? And what has been happening over the last, a few years that this product has been in existence? It's almost 2 decades since the product was launched in 2003, beginning of 2004. What has been the history of this product? And why it makes a compelling case for each person on this in this forum to understand this product in depth and make sure that you're utilizing this product to deliver a superior product to your clients as well. So that's really what my objective is going to be. But before doing that, I want to dwell on the subject of why NPS, right? I mean, and most of the times the question is this something that I even should be interested in? Because the commercials on this are not worth my time. And that's something that I hear a number of, number of advisors talking about. But I will try and make a case for why it is absolutely important for you to take this product very, very seriously. We're at a very nascent stage, but I think this is a product that deserves a tremendous amount of attention. And I think if you can allocate this as a part of your clients' portfolios, I think they will thank you, 10, 15, 20, 25 years from now. Now, let me begin by, getting into a familiar topic, right? And I don't want to preach to the converted, but, most people in this audience will know the answer to this question, right? What drives long-term return? We all know that these are the three things that really drive market, long-term returns as far as any financial product is concerned. One is market timing, the second is security selection, the third is asset allocation. But we also know that a tremendous amount of time is spent on item number 1 and item number 2. Very little time is spent on item number 3, which is asset allocation, right? And the reality is that, and this is a research that was done by 3 professors from the University of Chicago, and the conclusion that they came to when they looked at pension funds, incidentally, over 34 years, was that 93% of long-term returns were determined by asset allocation. So asset allocation is really the linchpin for long-term return generation. I know I'm preaching to the converted. We all talk about asset allocation being the most important element when it comes to long-term, wealth creation. But unfortunately, whether it is practiced or not is a question that I don't have an answer to. I will reserve my judgment, but more often than not, I see that whether we like it or not, the investor tends to spend a lot more time in market timing and in security selection, right? Why is this relevant? And why? And what are the other things that are important? What else drive long-term returns? Very simple: cost, taxes, risk management. Are you managing the risk in the right way? Is there a governance around it? Is there adequate diversification? Are you looking at volatility? Are you looking at asset allocation? Asset allocation, of course, is, in terms of diversification across asset classes, also forms a part of the risk management bucket. But above all of this is this, right? Which is patience, which is more behavioral than number-led, right? So time in the market being more important than timing the market is something that all of us have heard enough number of times. But I think that really underpins long-term return generation, long-term wealth creation, right? Why am I talking about all this, when I'm referring to this product called National Pension Scheme or NPS, right? What is and this is a perception that I see of NPS, right? More often than not, when it comes to NPS, these are the things that comes to people's mind. I don't want to lock my money for long periods of time. There is this perception that the money, when it's invested here, gets locked in. This is meant for retail investors. This is not for me. I'm an HNI investor. Why should I bother about NPS, right? This is a 50,000 ATC product, right? 50,000 रुपए डालना है, तो ये product के अंदर डालेंगे. Otherwise, who would bother with a 17,000-18,000 rupee tax break in a year? 50,000, not so important. Therefore, it gets ignored. It's a cumbersome process. I'm sure, opening an account, NPS account, or a PRAN account, as it is called, is a cumbersome process. Potentially low annuity rates. And I heard, Vishakha speak about, annuity. There is this perception, widely held perception, that annuity rates are not very attractive. And then, of course, from a distributor perspective, the distributor commissions are low. And these are some of the perceptions, and I will try and bust some of these myths. Some of them are myths. Some of them are product features, which I think are actually strengths or pros rather than cons, right? And I'll try and address each one of them. Now, there is one product that addresses each one of these, and that, by the way, is NPS, right? And when you look at each of these 6, elements that I've spoken about here, the first is taxation. This is the only product that has an exempt status, right? The only other product that has an exempt status is obviously Provident Fund. But the limits here in terms of investments are significantly higher than what you can potentially invest in a Provident Fund. The second point, which is with respect to risk management, this is a business where the universe of securities that one can invest in is very tightly defined, right? In India, and this is governed by the Pension Fund Regulatory Development Authority and the NPS Trust, which is essentially oversees the investment activities of pension fund managers. The entire universe is very tightly defined. So the top 200 stocks is the only stocks that that a pension fund manager can invest in the E category, which is referred to as the equity category. In the corporate bond category, over 75%, over 90% has to be above AA in terms of rating. In reality, most fund managers in the pension fund space have more than 75 to 80% in AAA securities, right? So that's the kind of risk management universe or framework or boundary conditions that is being defined by the regulator. Thirdly, and this is something that will resonate with a number of you on this call, which is essentially what are the fund management charges. So the fund management charges here are 3 bips to 9 bips. And I want to reiterate this, 3 bips to 9 bips, which is 1/10 or 1/20th of what you would essentially pay in an actively managed fund. And I'm referring to, of course, mutual funds. And I don't intend comparing apples and oranges, but the reality is that this is also a fund which is actively managed. And I will show you the returns from this funds, and therefore that will shine the light on why I believe that at a fraction of a cost, you are getting access to some of the best fund managers, and the total fund management charge therefore is between 3 and 9 bips, of course, including other charges, allied charges that would be there. It would add up to not more than 15 to 17 basis points a year. So that is the total cost that you pay. And we all know, as practicing professionals, that one of the biggest leakages that can happen over long periods of time is cost. And this is something that this is the cost angle that I'm highlighting, which is essentially the cost of managing the money. 15 bips overall, 3 to 9 bips is the fund management fee. The fourth aspect really addresses the behavioral issue that we see with most investors, which is to say, when the markets are jittery, we've all seen this. It probably didn't happen as much in March 2020 as it happened in maybe 2008. We all, those of us who've been in the industry for long enough know that in 2008, even the most sophisticated investor, bolted for the door. And the same happened in some smaller measure, maybe in March 2020, when the markets corrected by 39% within a matter of a month. But of course, the market rebounded with a vengeance, right? But the reality is that irrespective of whether the market is volatile or not, there is this constant urge or the itch that the customer has to, continuously keep making changes to asset allocation. This is a product where for most investors, you really do not need to do anything. All you need to do is put it in what is called as an auto choice investment option within NPS. It will automatically change the asset allocation as the age of the investor progresses. You don't need to do anything. All you need to do is choose the auto choice option, right? So that's again is, in my opinion, a very futuristic feature that is there in NPS as a product. Fifthly, this is the only product where an external agency, and let me tell you, there are 2 agencies. One is the Pension Fund Regulatory Development Authority and the NPS Trust, which is again a regulatory body. These are the 2 bodies, and this is, of course, the NPS Trust is a subset of the PFRDA. These 2 bodies are responsible for monitoring the performance of every pension fund manager. So every quarter, every single pension fund manager's performance is monitored, reviewed on a quarterly basis. While this may be a 25, 30, 35-year product, given the nature of the monies, the reality is that this gets monitored and the fund managers are reviewed every single quarter by an external independent agency. I don't know of any other product where this happens, right? Finally, this is a very, very digitally, this is a product which is entirely digital end to end, right from onboarding, which is, and this is right from day one. This has been the case right from day one, where it takes less than maybe 7 or 8 minutes for you to generate a permanent retirement account number, as it is called, the PRAN number, as it is called. And at the time of exit and withdrawal, the entire process, right from the money coming back to the investor's account to the money getting sent to the annuity service provider, everything happens online, fully digital, right? And even the overall and the entire servicing on, during the course of the investment also happens completely digitally, right? So it's a product which is fully digital. It's a product which has got some very, very strong positives, right? Now let me come to, so what has it done in the last, maybe 9 years that, some of the pension funds that have been around, most of the private pension funds have been around for the last 9 to 10 years. And the returns that you will see here, and maybe the fonts are a little small. HDFC Pension, of course, tops the charts in 3 years, 5 years, 9 years since inception. we've been right at the top in terms of returns delivered under the E category, which is the equity category, the C category, which is the corporate bond category, and G category, which is the government securities category. Across the industry, and of course, the differential across different players is not very large. HDFC Pension tops the chart, but across all players, you've seen some exceptionally good performance, right? So if you look at 3-year returns, it's in the region of 15%. And these three tables that you see are the tables for the aggressive investment choice, which is 75% exposure to equity, moderate or balanced investment choice, which is 50% exposure to equity, and conservative investment choice, which is 25% exposure to equity. So across all three categories, you will see that the returns here are higher than the other competing, pension products, so to say, or the retirement products, so to say, which is, the provident fund or the employee provident fund and the pension, public provident fund that you have. So this is a market-linked product which can create significant wealth for clients over long periods of time. Now, mind you, this does not take into account the fact that this is just product level returns. Now, if you were to take into account the exempt status at the time of investing money, the returns would be accelerated by another 30 to 35%. So the actual returns on this product is 1.2 to 1.4 times higher than what is shown here if you take the tax impact into account and compare it to a like-to-like product, which I will do slightly later in this presentation. Now, unfortunately, despite all of these, in my opinion, this is a space age product. The kind of features that are built into this product are really top of the line. Despite that, the adoption has been very low. And we know why it is low. The reason why it is low is that, unfortunately, the commercials on this product are not very competitive. And therefore, we see that this product is by and large, falls at the bottom of a wealth advisor's choice. My appeal to you, and these numbers are a telling example of what is the extent of penetration that has really happened, right? So if you look at the corporate sector and just focus on the two tables at the bottom, the left-hand table talks about the number of subscribers, the right-hand table talks about the number of, the AUM. In terms of number of subscribers, there are only up around 37 lakh subscribers across corporate and unorganized. Unorganized is really the retail segment. Even within the corporate, there are close to 5.5 to 6 lakhs, which are banks. Banks are mandatory. Banks NPS contribution is mandatory. So if you look at people who have voluntarily chosen to buy into NPS, that number is a very small number of around 30 lakh unique subscribers. Compare it to the maybe 3.5, 4, I think it's around 4 crore of mutual fund investors who are there, individual mutual fund investors that are there today. This is less than 1/10 of the number of mutual fund investors that are there. Yes, the industry needs to do a lot more. We as an industry, the pension fund industry needs to do a lot more to publicize. And that's one of the objectives that, I was happy to accept this invitation and hopefully make an impression on all of you to look at this product more seriously. In terms of AUM, the number is even smaller. Less than 17% of the overall industry AUM belongs to the private sector. The remaining 77% in terms of number of subscribers and the remaining 83% in the form of the AUM is from the government sector, which is the government employees for whom the old pension scheme got replaced by the new pension scheme in 2004, and from 2004 onwards for a number of state governments. So majority or the bulk of the 7 lakh odd crore of AUM that is there in this product belongs to government employees. And therefore, so as an industry, as far as the non-government sector is concerned, I think there is a huge opportunity that is available. And each one of you on this call can make a significant impact for your clients if you were to understand this product, deeply, and if you were to take this product seriously and promote it amongst your clients, because I genuinely believe that this can actually change the lives of people in India, especially in a country like India where social security does not exist in any form and shape. Moving on, as I said, this was launched in 2004. April 2004 is when it got launched by the Government of India. So it is a Government of India product, right? And as we speak in 2022, June 2022, we have close to 1.6 odd crore of subscribers, out of which only 30 odd lakh subscribers are the non-government subscribers. The other point that I want to make is that Indian pension fund assets under management is less than 3%. Now, global averages there are countries where it is upwards of 100%. Even other developing countries have GDP as a share of the GDP, it's upwards of 8 or 9%. So we are really, at a very nascent stage in the industry. And therefore, there is a lot of work that we need to do to make sure that we are able to create significant financial security for our aged population as time progresses. Moving on, this is the architecture. I don't want to take too much of time. Broadly, there are, within a pension fund, within the pension fund industry, there are 3 or 4 broad, sets of people. One is the pension fund manager. So HDFC is the pension fund manager. Apart from being a pension fund manager, it also is in the business of acquiring new subscribers or helping people set up their plans. They're referred to as the POPs. And then once the account is set up, then the account management, of course, happens by the pension fund manager. There are other entities such as the CRA, custodian, annuity service provider is the person who actually supplies the annuity at the time of maturity of the product. I don't want to take too much time on these, but just to give you a high level view of who are the other people in the architecture. The best of the names are there in this. As we speak, there are 7 PFMs which are active. The 3 public sector PFMs, LIC, UTI, and SBI funds, SBI pension funds. These are the 3 public sector fund managers. The government monies, by default goes to these. Government employee money by default goes to these 3 pension fund managers. The other 4 are private sector fund managers, which is HDFC, ICICI Prudential, Kotak, and Birla. 3 more have got licenses now, and you're going to see a lot more action as time progresses. Within this, I spoke about this earlier: equities, corporate bonds, government securities, and alternate investments. So these are the 4 categories in which a pension fund manager can invest. There is an active choice option for the investor. There's an auto choice option for the investor. Both of these choices, so auto choice is for somebody who doesn't want to go through the process of making asset allocation changes. So the auto choice actually offers you 3 types of funds: the aggressive fund, the moderate fund, and the conservative fund, based on which the equity allocation happens. And as time progresses, the allocation to equity keeps going down as the age increases. And then, of course, there is the active choice option, where the investor can choose to deploy a certain amount of money in equity, as per his choice. And of course, the allocation will keep coming down. Even in the active choice, the allocation will keep coming down once the age of 50 is crossed. And these are the 3 models that I spoke to, which are the auto choice models, which is essentially the 75% equity allocation, 50% equity allocation, and 25% as equity as allocation. And then accordingly, the other 2 allocations go up as time progresses, right? So these are the 3. And post the age of 35, the allocation from equity keeps coming down, and that keeps getting allocated to corporate bonds and pension funds. There is tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 2 is a simple. Tier 1 is the one where you have a tax advantage. Tier 2 is where you really use that as very similar to a mutual fund account. Again, you could look at this as a actively managed mutual fund with a 4 to 5 bips kind of a cost. Taxation on this, of course, it's open to interpretation, but and you should consult your tax advisor. But our interpretation is that this is treated as capital gains from tier 2 is treated as akin to debt, which is 20% post indexation after 3 years, and therefore it can be a very, very compelling case even if you look at it from a tier 2. Tier 2 at this point of time, the industry is very, very small. Most of the investment happens in tier 1. Moving on in the interest of time. So, across all of these, there is a tax-free amount withdrawal. And of course, there are technicalities in each of these. I don't want to get into it, but all I'm trying to say is that there is a very strong tax advantage that is obviously available, but that is not the only thing, right? And when you look at how this is structured, if you were to look at a corporate NPS, and corporate NPS is something that, as I said, there are around 14 odd lakh, subscribers there. 10% of the basic of the individual can be allocated towards NPS. This is capped along with superannuation funds and employee provident fund contribution at 7.5 lakhs. So for an individual with, let's say, a 25 or a 30 lakh, let's say somebody who's got a 20 lakh basic, up to 7.5% of 10% of that, up to 7.5 lakhs can be invested in NPS. Here, as you can see, on 20 lakhs, there is a 2 lakh that is invested in NPS, and you make a saving of the entire 30% on the 2 lakhs, or 33.5% on the 2 lakhs, and therefore you end up making a saving of 75,000. So if you were to take this into account and then compare it to the comparative products that are available to you in the market, and as I was saying, this is a very, very simple product process. The process of onboarding is very, very simple. It just takes less than 10 minutes for you to open the account. So corporate NPS, significant tax advantages. I will also share with you how that actually reflects in terms of the outcome. The entire ecosystem, as I said, is digital. The entire onboarding process, contribution process. In fact, in tier 2, there is something called a DRemit facility where you put in money before 10 o'clock in the morning, you get the same day's NAV, right? So those are the kind of features that are available. Unfortunately, not very well understood or known, but across the entire, steps of this product, everything is completely digital, right? From onboarding, contribution, servicing to withdrawal, everything is completely digital, right? Now, comparative returns. I know this may not be a very popular slide because I'm, sharing a comparison with mutual funds. But the reality is that if you take into account the impact of, the tax advantage that one gets upfront at an exempt status right from the beginning, and if you take into account the fact that the entire withdrawal proceeds are free of tax, there is no tax that is levied on the entire withdrawal proceeds at the time of maturity. Of course, 40% of this corpus has to go towards purchase of an annuity. An annuity is a product where your returns are guaranteed for the rest of your life, of the life of the subscriber, right? Which is in itself a very powerful feature. If you look at it today, the annuity rates that are available today are in the region of 6.5%, 6.75%. That is the rate that this investor will get if you buy an annuity today, even 20 years from now. So there is actually, of course, is there a provision for the rate to go up? Of course, as the interest rates in the market go up, this will go up. This rate is also a floating rate. But once you lock into this rate at the time of buying an annuity, you're locked into this rate for the rest of your life. There are other innovative features. Vishakha was mentioning some of those, where she spoke about, inflation-linked annuity. Those are things those are other, developments that are happening. But the reality is that this product, and if you were to look at the last column, which is the NPS column, the impact in terms of the sum total that you make, including one is of course the tax-free withdrawal amount, and then subsequently the annuity that you get from it, and you assume that the person survives till the age of 85, the impact or the differential between this product and the other products that have been put on the table here is dramatic. And I think this is not very well understood. And I think it is important for you to take cognizance of this. And by the way, on the mutual fund side, we've actually compared this with hybrid funds because, NPS, the product that has been taken here is a 75-25 allocation between equity and debt. So we compare it with the basket of hybrid funds, which are about 5,000 crores of, assets under management. Now, finally, this is an actual case study. This is an actual case where, for 115 months of contribution, this investor, as we speak, has seen a return of 11%. Now, this 11% to you may sound like a, not so exciting number, but keep in mind that the allocation into equity in this is only 42%, which means that if you were to look at it from a risk-adjusted perspective, the Sharpe ratio of this is very, very high, right? And if you were to take into account the tax advantage that this investor has gained through the course of the investment of this individual, the effective rate of this portfolio, which has got 42% in equity, has delivered a 16% effective rate if you were to compare it after taking into account the tax advantage. Now, you want to make a difference. These are the ways to make a difference. If you have an individual or a corporate ARN, you can potentially align yourself with us or with any of the other POPs that are there in the market. And then, take this wonderful product. In my opinion, one of the best products to create long-term wealth because it actually forces you to stay locked in. And Vishakha spoke about the importance of discipline. This is a product that will keep you disciplined and invest your monies in a market-linked product. 25, 30 years, there is absolutely no way you will not make a double-digit return if you have the right kind of allocation to equity in this product and create a significantly large corpus. And of course, there is an SIP option available here as well. And therefore, create a reasonably neat kitty for your clients. So with that, I'm going to stop, Aditya, and leave the floor open for any questions that may be there. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sriram. I've not heard such a passionate pitch for the last 7-8 days. So wonderful having you. I think this is those rounds that you keep doing of the colony. That energy is showing in the talk.
No, it's I'll tell you honestly, Aditya, having spent, now 27, 28 years in the financial services industry, I genuinely believe that, this is a product that can change the lives of people. And I think that's the sad part. And, I look for every opportunity to be able to make this impact in every possible opportunity. So thank you very much. But, it's really, really my conviction and belief that this is the product that must find its allocation in every single investor's portfolio.
No, absolutely. So I started my career a decade and a half ago as a wealth manager, and it just lasted 2 years because I was so fed up of it, and I thought financial education is my calling. But in those 2 years, what I learned is retirement planning to completely non-existent as a term. From
Correct.
I hardly heard anyone talking about retirement planning. Insurance also was always about investments and taxation towards the end of financial year.
Right.
So these two products, insurance and pension, I mean NPS, I believe they are great products. I mean, if I have to suggest as an educationist to someone, these are one of the first few products you should be thinking of.
Absolutely.
Then experimenting with other things, but it's the other way around. So when we talk about today, people are more excited about cryptos and other alternates than something as crucial and critical as NPS. So that's an irony, but I think that's exactly the gap we are trying to plug through forums like this. Unfortunately, I'm afraid we are out of time completely to take some Q&A, but audience, I mean, maybe quickly, if you have one or two questions, because I think the talk was so detailed, so and yet so crisp. At least I found it like a mini masterclass in itself on retirement planning and NPS. But audience, if you have any questions, we just about have time to take a couple of them. Please quickly put it up, and I'll be happy to ask them on your behalf. Sriram, I'll just request you to hang on for a minute or two.
Sure.
Sorry, I have two questions. I'll I'll take them together for you, and I think we'll have to end it with that. So here I go. One is mistakes to avoid when choosing a NPS, and what are the factors you consider when choosing a pension management company? So maybe you can try answering them together.
Yeah, sure. So I think I'll try and answer. Yeah, I mean, both are related, and I'll try and combine in a single answer. So number one, this is an idiot-proof product, right? What do I mean by that? If you look at the features of this product, and if you feel that I'm sort of tom-tomming about this product, it really needs tom-tomming, right? This is a product where the costs are low. This is a product where the distribution costs are low. This is a product where the tax advantages are, the most compelling, right? This is a product where there is an annuity service that you can buy at the end of it. This is the product where you have the best of the fund managers out there. There are 7 people that are there. There are 3 more that are getting added. DSP is the 11th one, which is applied for a license, got a license. So you have the choice of the best of fund managers available to you to pick and choose from. Now, the factors or the metrics that you would use to evaluate a fund manager are pretty much similar to what you would use to evaluate a mutual fund manager. The only difference here is that please keep in mind, please bear in mind that this is a product by design will not allow you to get out, right? And that's a big plus. It gets perceived as a negative, but in my opinion, it is the biggest positive because it prevents your investor from making those stupid decisions that they make at times when markets are volatile. So when you look at a pension fund manager, look at the same set of metrics, but forget about the 1 year return, 6 months return, 3 month return. Those things don't matter. This is a 25, 30-year product. And to be very, very honest with you, if you look at the differential return across pension funds, it is very dramatic, right? I think at the end of the day, you need to be able to choose the fund manager where you have comfort with their philosophy, comfort with what they're, and mind you, we are all monitored by the Pension Fund Regulatory Authority and the NPS Trust, right? So we are kept within our boundaries. Within this, as of now, of course, I will always talk about the company that I'm responsible for, which is HDFC Pension. Look at the performance, and we are at the top of the table. But by all means, evaluate them on the same set of metrics that you would evaluate a mutual fund manager. And I can tell you, in terms of Sharpe ratio, trainer ratio, whatever ratio you want to look at it, risk-adjusted return factors, you will see that this industry and this cohort of fund managers are right at the top. You know, and I think I think at the end of the day, it's about comfort with the name and the brand that you want to be associated with. And this is a 30-year product. I don't think you should, you know, spend too much of time worrying really about. There is no fly-by-night operator in this business. You know, fly-by-night operators can't get into this business. I can assure you that, right? So I think you can rest assured. Look at the performance. Look at the long-term performance. And all of us have got around 9-10 years of long-term performance. So that should be a guiding light as far as you know, decision making is concerned on the choice of fund manager. I hope I've been able to answer that question, Aditya.
Absolutely. So I think on that note, we'll have to conclude this session and segment. Thank you so much, Sriram,
Entirely my
for this
pleasure.
wonderful talk. You know, you just reminded me of Mr. Mohandas Pai. When you're listening to him, he's equally passionate. You give him any topic, politics, economics, money, fund management, he talks like that. So we need, and I think the pension industry needs, you know, strong ambassadors like you. And I'm sure this is a product that every Indian needs, and we should together work towards taking it, making it more and more inclusive. So thank you so much to you and your team for your time and efforts. And we look forward to keep engaging with you in more such initiatives.
Absolutely. Entirely my privilege and pleasure. Thank you very much for this
Thank you.
opportunity once again, Aditya. And thank you to everyone on this the audience as well. Thank you.
Audience, thank you so much for today. And so now we end the segment for insurance and pension. We will connect tomorrow for the impact investments part. And till then, take care. Goodbye.
Thank you, Aditya.